Sick and tired of your love-hate relationship with wine?
Welcome to the Feel It Alcohol-Free podcast. Hi, I'm Coach Ruby Williams.
And I'm Coach Susan Larkin.
We're two former wine lovers turned alcohol freedom coaches, exposing the lies about alcohol.
And giving you, our listeners, the tools to break free so you can feel lit.
And when you're lit, you'll feel healthier, freer, and more in control of your life.
So relax, kick back, and get ready to feel lit alcohol-free. Hey, welcome back and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It is January 2025. I can't believe it. And we're so excited to be here with you today. Hello, Miss Ruby. How are you today?
Hello. I am doing really well.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So today we are going to talk about the F word.
We're swearing.
Well, I have been known. One time Lance's friend was like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, I look like a soccer mom, swear like a sailor. We're not talking about swearing today. I'm not talking about that F word. I am talking about failure, fail, which is another F word. Mm-hmm. And we get questions about this all the time in our community. And we even have one today, which is, I've already failed dry January. What's wrong with me? And I want to take failure and kind of turn it on its head and ask, what if failure is good? Because I recently listened to an Andrew Huberman podcast, which he has these shorts. And it was from December 26, 2024, if you want to go back and listen to it. But he was talking about neuroplasticity. And just to remind you, neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to adapt and change. When we're young children, we have tons of neuroplasticity. That's how babies learn to walk, and that's how we learn all our motor movements. But he says after 25, we lose a lot of our ability to have neuroplasticity. But there are ways that our brain, there's a chemical cocktail for our brain that enhances our ability to have neuroplasticity. And what we want when we're changing our relationship with alcohol is we want to change those neural pathways, our thoughts and beliefs about alcohol. And one of the ingredients to that cocktail of chemicals in our brain is, wait for it, failure. What?
The F word here.
The F word. Failure. The other F word, frustration. Frustration around failure, coupled with, though, dopamine. And how do you get dopamine? It's by looking at failure as a positive or a learning point. We talk about that all the time because that's what we talk about on our podcast. Data points are for learning.
Yes.
And I found this great quote by Winston Churchill, which is, success is the ability to go from one failure to another with no loss of enthusiasm. So what do you think, Ruby?
Such a good topic because, well, we're here in the beginning of January. Well, we're about 2 weeks into January. And what if you've already failed dry January? Like this, I mean, I hear this all the time, or failed whatever kind of challenge you're doing. And yeah, I want to spend this whole episode like shifting the definition of success, shifting the definition of failure, like both of those words, because what is success and what is failure? And we talk about, or I talk about in my program, like this, it's not a straight line. Actually, it almost never is. There's like, I have this visual, because I'm a visual person. It's like you're going along and then there's a pitfall, and then you're going along and there's a sand trap, and then you're going along and you have to climb down a ladder into a deep dark hole and climb yourself back up. And there's all these, it's just like loop-de-loops, it's like back and forth, in and out, shifting. And what data points can do is, and I love the word because it's just learning. You're just like, okay, well, I tried that didn't work. Like, let's use the example of dry January. So I tried one thing one day and I was AF. That means alcohol free. And then I tried that again the next day, but I drank. That's interesting, right? Like, okay, well, what happened? And that's what we like as coaches when we work with our clients, and we really like, let's look at the data. What were you feeling, thinking? Like, it's just it's almost a good thing. It's almost like, oh, you had a data point. Well, that's the arrow pointing directly to where your brain needs to learn.
Yeah.
So
And something we need to dig out there. There's a feeling, there's a thought process there that we're not aware of, but the data point illuminates it, and then you're able to learn from it. So I think that's so good. There's another quote. I found all these great quotes when you said shift your definition of success, which is success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And we always talk about that. Like there's no failure. The only failure is to stop trying. So if you just dust yourself off, failure is not falling down, it's staying down. So you get up, you dust yourself off.
Get up.
You learn from where you tripped, right? Instead of, you don't want to go back and trip on that same crack in the sidewalk again. You want to learn, okay, there's a crack there. I don't want to step there again. You want to learn from that.
Yeah.
And then you just keep going, right? And
yeah.
we always talk about it's a marathon, not a sprint. And you don't go back to the starting line. If you're running a marathon and you tripped and fell, or you had to stop and pull over and take a breath, you don't go, okay, well, I have to go back to the starting point and start all over again. You know, you just keep going.
And I love this. I use this a lot with clients. It's not chutes and ladders. It's not where you have to like go back down that slide to the beginning of the mountain. If you're climbing a mountain or you're hiking up a mountain, I used to hike Half Dome every year for many years. It's a long hike. And yeah, you might sit down and take a rest. What if that's the data point and you're learning, okay, I need to sit down right now, take a breather, catch my breath, to have some water, you know, same sort of thing on an alcohol-free journey, because it's a journey to go all the way up the mountain to this like freedom where you're at the top and you look out and you feel free, and then you see all these other mountains, you guys. But like that mountain or chutes and ladders is something that really resonates with me, and like seeing it's a journey. Yeah.
I sometimes liken it to a labyrinth, and you're going around the labyrinth and you think you're in the same place, but you're not. You're one rung in. You keep peeling away those layers. You keep making progress, even though you're like, oh, am I here again? It's like, no, but you're here again with more knowledge, more learning. And how are you going to apply now what you learned now? So it's imperative that we learn from our failures and that we do not beat ourselves up. That was the big mistake. I had a lot of failures in my first year of trying to be alcohol-free on my own. But I beat myself up all the time when I would drink again. I did learn even in that frustration place. So I really love to say too, like the people who are really struggling, you know, and just like, how come everybody else, it's easy for them, but I'm struggling? And I just am like, don't worry about it. Hard won equals hard wired. I really believe that when you have to work so hard at this process and you're really putting the effort in, and maybe you're not successful every day, but then you learn and you keep going, it is hard wiring. You are changing those neural pathways. That frustration you feel is part of that chemical cocktail that Dr. Huberman was talking about.
Yeah.
That helps your neuroplasticity. So sometimes Ruby and I talk about like, we get sad when our clients are upset or frustrated, but they have to come to that place. Sometimes we just have to go, let that happen. We can't save you, right? And that because that is an important place where you're just like, you know, you're ready for that change. It doesn't mean you have to have a rock bottom, but there is this sort of rub. You have to be uncomfortable enough to put the effort in to make the changes that you want to make, right?
Yeah. And from many different people that at 3 months or 6 months or 9 months, they have this like random one more data point. And it's not, it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I'm going back to day one. I actually say no more day ones. It's literally, you're on, say, 6 months. It's 6 months with one tiny blip. And guess what? Those are the hugest learning. Like, they're like, oh my gosh, I needed, like a week later, they're like, I'm so thankful I had that data point because that was where I needed to learn.
Right.
It's truly just a learning point. And then we want to celebrate successes. So what is a definition of success? Like it's you comparing to your own self only. it's again, and we said this in many episodes, like progress, not perfection. It's you not comparing to other people or not to comparing to coaches but it's you and how you're learning and growing. And it's not success only about drinking, the behavior. We often start with just, are you having new thoughts? Are you having that self-compassion piece that's maybe new for you? Are you noticing being mindful of your drinking? These are all success. Like I want to celebrate them, and I use pom-poms for celebration. So I'm going to shake on that. But like, success, maybe high five in the mirror. Like
Yes.
that's the dopamine, right? That Susan was talking about, that cocktail where celebration and rewarding yourself, like whatever that is, there's so many tools. There's like the jar where you have the beads, like I do floral beads into a jar, but that noise, I'm going to do it right here. Like
Cling.
that's like reward center of the brain goes bing, dopamine.
Yeah.
And then you learn that's a good, like I just had an AF day. I put the bead in the jar. Yay.
Yeah. Or
So-
even if it's in the beginning of the learning, I was able to lengthen for an hour. You can still reward yourself for that because we want to keep rewarding the learning to create those new neural paths. So it's imperative that we learn from the failures. We don't beat ourselves up. We have that self-compassion for ourselves, which we talk about. And we take the time to do something when we have a data point. I know a lot of times we just want to ignore it. We want to go, oh, well, forget it. I had a kind of a crummy day or I screwed
Right.
up and I just want to move forward. It's like really
Get
I have a
curious.
worksheet for my clients called
Yeah.
Learn and Move Forward. You need to get curious because that's on this habit loop. You can interrupt the cycle at any point. You can interrupt it at the urge level. You can interrupt it at the behavior level, where I always say, like, even if you take a sip, you can go, wait, what am I doing? And pour it down. That's interrupting it. But you can also interrupt it after the fact, even if you've already engaged in the behavior. By examining what happened, learning from it, it is interrupting that self-sabotage, that wheel of self-sabotage, and slowly making the changes that you're looking for. So, this is so counterintuitive because this is not the AA way. The AA way is you drank, you do the walk of shame, you come in and have to say, I have 0 days, and like, it's the worst, especially if you already have a shame if you have a big shame trigger like I did, like it was just the worst.
Yeah,
and that did not help me learn at all. That made me want to hide.
Yes.
And I would do program after program and then quote unquote fail. I'd fail and then I would go into hiding. And like I'd quit the program.
And drink more sometimes.
Sometimes.
And I had that same experience with AA too, that shame. AA works on some levels, but if you're still wanting alcohol and like white knuckling it, I'm using fists and like, just not wanting that shame because you have to say I'm on day one again, which was horrible. That to me, it was so shameful. So when clients come to me and they're like, if they've been through AA, that they might come and say those exact words. Oh my gosh, I drank. I'm bad, or I failed, or I'm just so full of shame. I don't even want to tell you. And then I want you all to know who are listening. I will say, okay, that happened. Let's learn from it. It's not the end of the world. It's one little data point. Let's learn from it. And I stay super positive because really this journey is a journey of the joy is in the journey, to be honest with you. When you're going to look back at that, say first year journey of there's so much joy and like discovery of it's just an amazing journey that's all about progress, not perfection, successes, and saying, oh yeah, I drank, okay, I had a data point, but it's okay, it's really okay, truly.
And the pride too, and the hard, like you can look back in the hard days and be like, wow, I did that, wow, that's amazing. Even though it was super hard, some days are hard. Some days we have to dig in tooth and nail, right? And that's okay.
Every single day is an opportunity. Okay. I'm such a huge, like today is a new day. That concept, like every day you can literally pull up your big boy or big girl pants and today is a new day. So that it's you show up. And so, to recap really quick, we want to shift the power of success, like how you define success. And I want to go back to that because defining success to me is not only about the behavior. In fact, the behavior piece comes last, as Annie explained last week, that there's an order of operations. And if you just focus more on how you want to feel, on the growth, the happiness, instead of, I mean, yeah, some people love apps and tracking, and that's great as long as you're not beating yourself up and you use it as data. Like, okay, the data shows I had more alcohol-free days than last month. Great, that's progress. But we want to, like, that's where our podcast is feel lit alcohol-free. We want to, like, how do you want to feel in your life? It's all about feelings, and so that's about the success. Yeah, and what about you?
Well, how you feel in your body is so important because that's one of the reasons why we drink, right? We drink to change the way we feel. And when we experience at least for me, how I experience this change and what I see in a lot of clients, when they do have a data point, maybe like you mentioned, like 6 months down the road, then they feel really bad in their body, not because they're thinking, oh, I'm bad, but like just because alcohol doesn't really make you feel good. And they see that contrast. That bodily experience of this feels bad actually is part of that changing of your desire. It's teaching your brain, ooh, alcohol's the hot stove. It feels bad. I don't want to do this, because your brain pursues pleasure. So when alcohol becomes not pleasure, right? It becomes that thing that we don't want to do. That's when something clicks.
Yes.
So that bodily experience of like, ew, this didn't feel good, is sometimes really pivotal in people's experiences and in people's progress. Pivotal. Yeah. It was for me. It definitely was for me that, you know, all 2019, I would go from 30 days and then drink, beat myself up. But then when I just, you know, threw in the towel for a couple months during the beginning of COVID, I saw how different I felt. And I went, I don't want to feel like this. And that gave me that discomfort, that frustration with where I was. Those things coming together were what helped me make the progress that I did, because I was so frustrated, had a lot of discomfort, and I was so ready for a change that then that's where something clicked for me, and I was able to go all in. And we've talked about going all in too. Yeah.
I think as kids, as you were just talking, I was thinking about, like, as a kid, we're more open, I think many kids are anyway, to this failure piece, right? Like if we think about riding a bike, you know, we have to like have the commitment and courage, and we want to ride a bike. And then we have to be willing to try it and maybe fall and try it. And maybe like if falling is failing on bike riding, but eventually you learn from it. Like, I rode a little bit here, but then I fell. And then, I turned too tight and I fell. Like you learn. But I do think as adults, we kind of, many of us go, I won't even try it unless I know I'm going to succeed on my first attempt. But I think about you talking about like pickleball. I just had family, the holidays were just here a couple weeks ago, and I was having a conversation about pickleball because I really want to do this in 2025. It's on my to-do list of like things to learn. And yeah, it's like, I don't expect that I'm going to like first time I go out on a pickleball court, then I'm just going to be like amazing. I will need to try and have the courage to try, the courage to if failing is I lose a game, or I don't even know, or fall down, but then I pick myself back up because I want to learn. I want to do this.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because I just listened to this podcast and I was just thinking about this because I'm kind of at that point where I can play. I can sometimes play well, and then sometimes I just suck completely. And it's so frustrating. And like, I'd like to get my serve to be a little bit better. And like, at first I was like, I'd go to play with people and be like, oh, you don't want me on your team. I kind of stink, And then of course, with that mindset, I go out there and I do stink. But also I started to think, I have to keep showing up and I have to keep playing because I'm not going to get better if I don't keep playing. And my husband's like, just come out and play. And I'm like, I can't, I'm not good enough. I don't want to be the loser out there. Ugh, I don't like doing things I'm not good at. But guess what? You can't get good at it unless you just do it. So now I'm just like, okay, hey, yeah, I'm, just going to keep learning, just keep playing. And
I want to just use that word for an alcohol-free journey. What if it's about playing? What if we took more lightness to this? Because to be honest with you, an alcohol-free lifestyle is light and free and feeling lit, feeling good. So what and fun, like what if we used more of those, or you could use more of those, like actually it's about play. I know it is hard in the moment, but it's just so amazing to be alcohol free. I don't know how else to like convince people, like give it a try. So what happens is you and I, Susan, we like can help people say like, oh, we did it. So you could do it, like that kind of hope piece. But then you as a client or as someone trying to get alcohol free needs to actually experience it themselves. That's how you create those new neural pathways, is you are getting curious, having failure, like we talked in the beginning, like failing and trying, keep trying, getting curious, mindful, understanding everybody goes through this process. Everybody. You are not alone in this like AF journey being hard work, but it's the best work you can do.
And when you're really frustrated, that's when you need to press in even more. Just press in a little bit more and then congratulate yourself, celebrate yourself, high five yourself in the mirror, get that dopamine. So taking the moment then to journal afterwards. What happened? What was good? What felt good? What were your thought processes that you want to change? You know what I mean? Doing on the turnaround technique that we talk about. Just your chemicals are ripe at the right time, right then, if you just press in a little bit when you're really frustrated. So I'm going to remember that for pickleball too. So, yeah. Well, so this is the time in our podcast when we talk about feeling lit. And today I get to ask Ruby what she's doing to feel lit.
Well, I wanted to put myself back into that place, like when I was frustrated and feeling like I was failing at my alcohol-free journey. And the thing that really helped me is I have some affirmations, like positive words that I can say out loud or in my head that really help me stay focused and intentional and motivating, or even just #human, like human. So mine that I used, I swear to you, every day, maybe 10, multiple 50 times a day on my alcohol-free journey for probably the whole first year, was patience, patience, patience. I would just say that over and over and over and over and over because I wanted it right away. I wanted to be alcohol-free. Like I want it now, like a little toddler. Like I want to be alcohol-free right now. I would just say, Ruby, I would talk to myself like that. Patience, patience, patience. This takes time. And back to like the forming new neural pathways, rewiring your brain. It takes time and it takes patience. And the other one I love, I can do hard things. I love that. Like I've done so many hard things in my life and I can do this. I can do hard things. I am strong. And that empowers me to say, I can do hard things.
I love that.
Yeah. What about you? Did you have any affirmations now or when on your alcohol-free journey? Or
I had a mantra that I used during my alcohol-free journey that I put with a mudra. And I think I've talked about this before, but it always bears repeating, which is never question the decision. And I'm taking my thumb and my pinky together. This is the mudra, and then doing my thumb to my ring finger, then my thumb to my middle finger, then my pointer together. Never question the decision. And when I would get into a place of stress, that's one of the mantras that I used. And then in the last couple of years, when I go to anxiety, that helps me is I am beloved. And that sort of helps me sit back. Like when I'm just really frustrated about something or feeling anxious about something, I go, okay, I am beloved. You are beloved, especially if I'm in, a frustrating discourse with another person. It just reminds me, I don't need to freak out. Like, wait, we're all human. You're beloved. I'm beloved. And then coming back to the conversation or to the situation with love from that place of loving myself and loving the other.
I love it.
Has been helpful. Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't you come up with either a mantra or an affirmation? And it's not about toxic positivity. I want to make that clear that these are not what I'm talking about. Is like if you declare like, I am worthy when you don't believe you're worthy yet, for example. Right. These are words that'll just like when you feel like you're the only one or you feel like you've lost some of that motivation or power. Like I can do hard things. That really
I love that.
Yeah, it's empowering. Or patience is about self-compassion and that it takes time. And then yours, never question the decision. That's about motivation and intention. And then the beloved one is just really self-love and common humanity, right? That everybody is beloved.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful examples. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This was fun.
Yeah. So we just want to encourage you to keep moving forward and join us in our Facebook group where you can get more encouragement and
there's
connect with us.
there's no failure. No failure.
Only learning.
Only
Yay.
learning. Yeah.
Yes. Failure is the other F word. All right. Well, have a wonderful day and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks so much for listening to Feel Lit Alcohol-Free Podcast. Do you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show?
All you need to do is head over to Apple Podcasts and do two simple things. Leave a rating and review telling us what you think of the show. And in that review, ask us any questions you have about breaking free from wine or living an alcohol-free lifestyle.
That's it. Then tune in to hear your question answered live.
And remember, do something today that will help you feel lit.